Thanks for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. The two leaders of North Korea and Russia have sealed a comprehensive strategic partnership treaty. The latest deal includes assisting one another without any delay if either is under attack. President Yoon said South Korea's Gyeongsangbuk-do Province will become a hydrogen industry hub as he laid out a $578 million project to create a hydrogen economy industrial belt. Greater overseas shipments for eco-friendly cars meant South Korea saw record-high exports for May. The monthly figure surpassed the $2 billion mark for the third straight month. North Korea's Kim Jong-un and Russia's Vladimir Putin have brought bilateral ties to a higher level based on this comprehensive strategic partnership. Now, that's a promise to back one another without any delay in case of aggression from another country. Choi Min-jung starts us off.
The leaders of North Korea and Russia agreed to elevate their relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin inked the agreement on Wednesday following their summit in Pyongyang. According to Sputnik News, Putin said the agreement implies mutual assistance in case of aggression against either of the participants. He added that Russia does not exclude the development of military technical cooperation with North Korea in connection with the partnership. According to Reuters, Kim said the relationship between the two sides was raised to an alliance, implying that the countries would expand military cooperation as well. He stressed, however, that the agreement was peaceful and defensive in nature, adding he has no doubt that it will become the driving force accelerating the creation of a new multipolar world. Such agreement adds fuel to the fire as Pyongyang and Moscow's military cooperation, which developed since Kim's meeting with Putin in Russia last September, has already sparked global security concerns. Putin also called for a review of indefinite sanctions against North Korea by the UN Security Council, saying that the restrictive measures were inspired by the US and its allies. Prior to the signing, Kim and Putin sat down for a summit. Putin appreciated North Korea's consistent and unwavering support for Russian policy, including on Ukraine. Kim then expressed the regime's full support and solidarity with Russia in conducting military operations in Ukraine.
North Korea expresses full support for the Russian government's special military operation in Ukraine to protect its sovereignty, interests, and the stability of its territory.
The two also discussed ways to strengthen their bilateral ties, as Putin mentioned a new fundamental document.
Last year, as a result of your visit to Russia, we made significant progress in building up our relations. Today, a new fundamental document has been prepared that will outline the basis of our relationship over the long term.
Putin expressed his intention of meeting with Kim again, saying he hopes this will be held in the Russian capital. The Russian leader arrived in North Korea early Wednesday morning for his first state visit since 2000. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
The latest agreement between Russia and North Korea could come with high stakes. However, experts in South Korea say it could become an opportunity for Seoul to improve its relationship with Moscow. Our North Korean Affairs correspondent Kim Jung-soo reports.
With the latest agreement between Russia and North Korea being described by Western media as possibly the strongest cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang since the end of the Cold War, some experts in South Korea say it's an opportunity for Seoul to reconnect with Russia.
The outcome of the summit suggests that in some sense, Russia could have a bigger effect on North Korea in terms of the issue of conflict on the Korean peninsula. This means Russia can become more valuable to South Korea. And I think there's a chance that Russia is trying to reach out to South Korea by using the relationship with the North.
Another expert in Russian studies, Professor Chung Jae-won of Kookmin University, says while deepening Moscow-Pyongyang ties do pose a threat to regional security, it's important to understand and analyze the situation calmly.
Russia would not have reached out to North Korea like this without the war in Ukraine. So depending on how the war ends, it's going to have a big impact on the relationship between Russia and North Korea. When it all settles down, the relationship between them will become estranged, and Russia will approach South Korea.
Another expert said it is important to return to basics at a time like this.
We gotta pay attention to the most fundamental thing that we need to do, and that is strengthening relationship with like-minded liberal countries. In the meantime, it's still important for South Korea not to sever the diplomatic channels with Russians and even with North Korea.
김정실, 아리랑 뉴스.
The South Korean government has condemned North Korea for their military spy satellite launch program at a UN meeting held to discuss peaceful uses of outer space. During the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space meeting held in Vienna, South Korea's ambassador to Austria, Sang-wook, told UN member states that reconnaissance satellite launches by the North are a violation of Security Council resolutions. He added that the North's actions are illegal and deceptive, and emphasized the importance of the international community remaining united on the matter. Last month, North Korea failed in an attempt to launch a military spy satellite, but claims to have successfully launched a reconnaissance satellite last November. South Korea's population decline, mostly caused by its notoriously low birth rate, is so problematic that the issue will now be viewed as a national emergency. Our Kim Do-yeon has the details.
A population state of emergency has been officially declared in South Korea, with the government expecting the fertility rate to fall to 0.65 in 2025.
저는 오늘 인구 국가 비상사태를 선언하고 저출생 문제를 극복하는 그날까지 범국가적 총력 대응 체계를 가동할 것입니다.
This coming as President Yoon on Wednesday presided over a presidential committee on aging society and population policy meeting, the second time to do so. The president added that 3 areas will be the focus of the government's all-out efforts: work and family life balance, childcare, and housing. For work and family balance, the government aims to up the current rate of dads taking paternity leave to 50% from current 6.8. For this, the government will financially support companies temporarily losing employees while upping the first 3 months of the government's parental leave pay to a maximum of 2.5 million Korean won, or about $1,800 from current $1,000. The government is also expanding public childcare programs so children aged from 3 to 5 will receive free education and care. Lastly, for housing, newlyweds and couples with newborns will receive financial support while being prioritized when purchasing a newly built home. But that's not all.
저출생은 이런 양립, 양육, 주거 3대 핵심 분야 이외에도 수도권 집중과 같은 사회 구조적 요인과 경쟁 압력, 높은 불안과 같은 사회 문화적 요인이 복합적으로 얽혀 있습니다. 특히 우리 사회의 과도하고 불필요한 경쟁 문화를 바꿔서 더 여유 있고 성숙한 사회가 될 수 있도록 노력해야 합니다.
President Yoon has called the current low birth rate a national emergency before and said he will create a new ministry for this and have its minister be the Deputy Prime Minister for Social Affairs, a role the current education minister holds, showing the new role's significant power and responsibility. But the creation of a new ministry will need the support of the opposition-led parliament, which is always an uphill battle. Meanwhile, before the meeting, he took time to visit a child care center run by a company in Gyeongsangbuk-do Province where the meeting was held too. He spoke to children and teachers there to see what's needed. By law, companies in South Korea with more than 300 full-time female workers or at least 500 full-time workers need to have their own child care centers. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
President Yoon has pledged billions of dollars to build a hydrogen economy belt and nuclear power complex in the country's southern Gyeongsangbuk-do Province. This came on Thursday as the South Korean leader held his 26th policy discussion with citizens in the region. Calling for a new industrial structure for regional growth, Yoon promised $578 million to create a hydrogen economy industrial belt along the East Coast and a small modular reactor industrial complex worth $2 billion in Gyeongju City through a nuclear power industry growth fund. He also announced a further investment to build a semiconductor production base and start up a startup park in cities across the province to turn it into the manufacturing innovation hub of Northeast Asia. The South Korean government on Thursday vowed to strengthen the competitiveness of the defense industry as it looks to support the development of material and component technologies in 5 key fields. The move is a part of the government's push to develop 60 core technologies in the 5 fields: space, artificial intelligence, man-unmanned teaming, robots, and semiconductors. Among the technologies being developed are cutting-edge aircraft engine materials for civil and military use, and hybrid powertrains for next-generation tanks. With the development of AI technology and automation, the concept of smart logistics is looking to become more prevalent. Our An Sung-jin takes a look at this trend from production to consumption.
In the age of digital transformation, from manufacturing to sales, the retail industry is looking to become more automated using robots.
According to Business Research Insights, a data-based market intelligence company, the global market for automation is currently at $100 million and is expected to grow to $165 billion by 2031. Smart Tech Korea, a trade show hosted by the Trade Ministry from Wednesday this week, holds an array of events such as the Robot Tech Show and the Retail and Logis Tech Show, showcasing robot technology and solutions that are applied to the logistics process. But how is the process of production to consumption about to change with such connected and automated AI technology? One company says that jobs at warehouses will be further automated.
If I say in future, maybe in the industry, production industry, for the assembly lines, or maybe for assembling something.
Including production, loading and packaging can also be automated with robotic arms picking up boxes weighing 20 kilograms and storing them. Most industry insiders say that companies are looking to reduce labor costs and use robots or automated technology instead for increased productivity, even if initial costs to implement the technology may be hefty.
One concern most Asian countries, including South Korea, have is that as real estate prices and human labor costs rise, businesses are losing efficiency. Integrating these solutions can help enhance the return on investment.
In addition to production and distribution for producers, higher industrial automation, such as the use of RFID, reduces human intervention, which may reduce error and inefficiency for consumers as well.
Not only can these reduce excess costs for the producers, but they also provide better experiences for customers, since they can also benefit from the automation process of unmanned sales.
As more of the logistics processes are looking to become automated, factory layouts and industries will be changing accordingly. And as the Trade Ministry has said, the government is looking to further assist the process. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
South Korea's overall current account surplus increased last year, but its current account balance differed with each country. It saw a record surplus with the U.S., but a record deficit with China. Lee Soo-jin has the details.
South Korea recorded its largest ever current account deficit with China last year, but also the largest ever current account surplus with the United States. According to the Bank of Korea on Wednesday, South Korea's overall current account balance recorded a surplus of more than $35 billion last year, up from around $25 billion from the year before. This was mostly driven by its current account surplus with the United States surging from nearly $69 billion in 2022 to $91 billion last year. That's the largest current account surplus with the United States on record since related data was first collected. And this was led by the current account balance for goods recording its largest surplus ever thanks to strong demand for automobiles and machinery. On the other hand, South Korea's current account balance with China recorded a deficit of $30 billion, also a record high. South Korea's current account balance with China has remained in the red for 2 consecutive years after falling into negative territory for the first time in 21 years in 2022. And last year's deficit was greater than that of 2022. This comes as outbound shipments of goods, namely chips, plunged by a large margin, while inbound shipments of goods dropped only slightly.
South Korea's current account balance with the United States has shown an increasing surplus since 2020, while its current account balance with China has shown a greater deficit in 2023 than in 2022. It looks as though this decoupling trend driven by rising exports of AI chips will continue.
As for its current account balance with other nations, South Korea's current account deficit with Japan last year shrank compared to a year earlier due to decreased imports of goods such as chemical products. But its current account surplus with Southeast Asian countries fell as outbound shipments of chips, oil, and chemical products fell. The Bank of Korea official said that this surplus drop seen with the Southeast Asia region was, however, offset by the record surplus with the U.S., and that the central bank believes that exports to the U.S. will remain robust for a prolonged period. 이수진, Arirang News.
South Korea's auto exports hit a record high for the month of May, with increased overseas sales of eco-friendly cars apparently pushing the figure up. Park Kwon-woo brings the latest numbers.
South Korea's overseas shipments of automobiles showed a strong performance for the month of May. According to the Trade Ministry on Thursday, auto exports hit a new monthly high that month, reaching $6.5 billion, an on-year increase of nearly 5%. The cumulative value from January to May this year was also a record high for the period, with a figure above $30 billion. Exports of eco-friendly cars saw a surge with hybrid vehicles up by nearly 50% in May compared to the year before. It's the third month in a row for the monthly figure for green cars to stay above the $2 billion threshold. The Trade Ministry mostly attributed this to an increase in outbound shipments to the North American market. Data showed that exports to the region jumped by 36% on year from January to May, pulling up the cumulative value. Similarly, shipments to Australia also rose with new hybrid car models from Hyundai and Kia on the market. However, exports to Europe fell due to increased production in factories in Czechia and Slovakia. Though domestic production remains firm based on global demand, the ministry is looking to see further increases later this year as new models of electric vehicles will be released, while another factory in Korea begins operation. High demand for eco-friendly cars was also seen domestically, with sales up 10% on year in May. The Trade Ministry pledged to strengthen support and provide export vouchers amid a rise in sea transport fares to reach the $100 billion export goal by the end of this year. Park Kwon-woo, Arirang News.
The UN on Wednesday pointed out that Israel may have repeatedly violated the laws of war by using massive explosives provided by the U.S. in densely populated areas in Gaza. Lee Seung-jae has more.
A report by the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights released on Wednesday says the Israeli military dropped precision-guided bombs manufactured in the United States into the Gaza Strip that may have violated the laws of war. The report indicates that in the first months of the conflict between Israel and Hamas, there were 6 cases in which the Israel Defense Forces used explosive weapons with wide area effects, including 2,000-pound bombs in civilian neighborhoods. The attacks led to at least 218 civilian deaths. The UN report also noted that on December 2, 2023, the Israeli military destroyed 15 buildings and killed at least 60 civilians when the IDF was targeting a single senior Hamas commander. In addition, out of the 6 cases mentioned, the report says 5 of the strikes came without any warning from Israel. The military is said to have used 3 different types of precision-guided bombs manufactured in the United States, with the UN report emphasizing that the use of a weapon that has such wide-ranging impact in a densely populated area could be considered a crime against humanity. Meanwhile, Israel's foreign minister has warned of an all-out war with Hezbollah and vowed to prepare for all possibilities. The remarks came after Hezbollah released videos of sensitive Israeli military sites and civilian areas. Foreign Minister Israel Katz said Israel is very close to the moment of decision to change the rules against Hezbollah and Lebanon, adding that in an all-out war, Hezbollah will be destroyed and Lebanon will be severely hit. Analysts warn that the daily clashes between Israel and the militant group are reaching a tipping point and could potentially escalate into a full-fledged war. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. The Chinese Coast Guard on Wednesday defended its actions following a clash on Monday with the Philippines Navy resupply ship that resulted in a collision between the two sides. Manila accused the Chinese of aggressive behavior after several Filipino sailors were injured in the incident. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said in a daily news briefing that the Chinese ship only took action because the Philippine ship was trespassing on the disputed Second Thomas Shoal. Lin said the Chinese Coast Guard took no direct measures as it moved to stop an illegal supply mission by a Philippines vessel. Prior to the Chinese statement, the Philippines Navy said on Tuesday that one sailor suffered a serious injury after the Chinese Coast Guard ship conducted intentional high-speed ramming before aiming its weapons and pointing strobe lights to threaten and harass Filipino sailors. The Philippine Navy stated that continued aggressive behavior and unprofessional conduct towards a legitimate humanitarian mission was unacceptable. A bipartisan U.S. congressional delegation met with the exiled Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, in India on Wednesday, saying they would not let China exert any influence in the choice of his successor. The high-level delegation, led by Republican Congressman Michael McCaul and including Democratic former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, met with the Dalai Lama at his residence in Dharamsala to brief him on the Resolve Tibet Act, passed by the U.S. Congress last week. The delegation added that the visit also aimed to encourage dialogue between the Dalai Lama and Chinese officials in the hope of working toward a peaceful resolution between Tibet and Beijing. After a failed uprising against Chinese rule in 1959, the Tibetan government has been in exile in India, while Beijing refuses to recognize autonomy for Tibet and hasn't held any talks with representatives of the Dalai Lama since 2010. The 88-year-old spiritual leader is expected to travel to the U.S. on Thursday for medical treatment on his knees, but has so far not announced any official meetings. Now to Russia and the far eastern city of Vladivostok, where a local court sentenced an American soldier arrested earlier this year to nearly 4 years in prison after he was found guilty of theft and making murder threats. According to Russian state news agency TASS, 34-year-old Staff Sergeant Gordon Black was sentenced to 3 years and 9 months in prison and ordered to pay some $115 in damages. U.S. authorities said Black, who is married, flew to Vladivostok to see his girlfriend, who he met while stationed in Korea. His girlfriend, Alexandra Vaschuk, told reporters earlier this month that Black had attacked her before stealing money from her wallet. And finally to the UK, where protesters from the environmental group Just Stop Oil sprayed powder paint on a part of Stonehenge on Wednesday. Police arrested 2 people on suspicion of damaging the world-famous prehistoric megalithic structure. The protest, which occurred just ahead of summer solstice celebrations at the site, was slammed by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak as vandalism. Just Stop Oil say it took action as it wants the British government to end the extraction of and the use of fossil fuels by 2030. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Many regions had record-breaking June warmth yesterday, including here in Seoul. And central parts of the country should be as hot as Wednesday, but there should be slight relief in certain parts of the country. Meanwhile, monsoon rain is pounding down on Jeju, falling 30 millimeters an hour with thunderstorms. A rain advisory has been issued with up to 150 millimeters of showers through tomorrow morning. But the south coast could see on and off a drizzle until tonight. And central regions continue to be under blazing sunshine, so those traveling in and out of Jeju Island need to take the weather into account and be well prepared for either downpours or a scorcher. Afternoon highs should top out at 35 degrees Celsius in most of central parts of the country. Unbearable heat continues in the capital through tomorrow, which is summer solstice. Then welcome heat relief is on its way. Take care in this hot weather. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have at this hour. Arirang News will be back at 2 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.